Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel, Non-Stop Talking with your girl here, Vivian Liu. Today I am coming at you with my most disappointing book slash reads of 2019. So I tried my best to narrow this list down like my favorites list. It's gonna be one book per series and one book per author. So even though I tried my best to narrow it down, I still ended up with 22 books that I wanted to talk about. So it's pretty long. Bear with me if you want. There will be some popular titles here, and that's your disclaimer. Since the list is quite long with 22 titles, I've decided to skip like the synopsis and the summaries of the books and just go straight into why they disappointed me. Alright, let's get started. At number 22 is The Night Film by Marisha Pessl. I gave this book a 3 out of 5. Originally, I thought this was so good. I was scared, I was tantalized, and then the ending happened. And I know the ending is very has split people, and I'm on the boat that doesn't like it. I felt like it ruined all the build up and tension and kind of ruined the book for me, and that's why it's here on this list starting it off. At number 21 is Down Among the Sticks and Bones by Shauna McGuire. So this is the second book in the Wayward Children series. I thought the first book was a decent intro to a series, and I was eager to pick up the second book. But the second book is actually quite different from the first book. It changes direction, and I didn't want that, I realize now. In addition, the second book is about Jack and Jill and their past, which I thought would be more interesting, but I also wanted to know about their present, and that didn't happen. Maybe it's gonna happen in later books, but I think I was disappointed with the lack of information, and I just felt like I wanted to know more, but it never got to that, and that's why it's on this list. I almost forgot, I gave Down Among the Sticks and Bones a 2.8 out of 5. So next at number 20 we have Eleanor Oliphant is Completely Fine by Gail Honeyman. I gave this book a 3 out of 5, and I really feel like I have to explain why I don't like this book. This book came to me highly recommended from a longtime friend, Ginny, so I was excited to pick it up, and after I picked it up and not liked it, I had another friend, Alexa, tell me, hey, I just read a new book recently that's really good, I think you should read it. And I had the most roundabout way answer to tell her I read it but I didn't like it, because I feel like not liking this book makes me out to be a really heartless person, and maybe that's what I am. That's what I'm just a terrible person. I just have to acknowledge that fact, and that's why I didn't like this book. I think the biggest issue is that you're supposed to sympathize, empathize, and relate to Eleanor, and I just never did. And because I completely missed the point of what this book should do, this book did absolutely nothing for me, and I just feel really sad. Or I don't know, I just think I don't know, am I a bad person? Maybe I'm a bad person for not I don't know, being on the same page with Eleanor and feeling sorry for her troubles. It's hard to say, but yeah, I didn't like the main character, and that's why I didn't like this book. And because everyone it seemed like everyone kept hyping it up, and that's why it's on this list. At number 19 is The Poppy War by R.F. Kuang. I gave this also a 3 out of 5. Originally, I was super duper excited for this Asian inspired fantasy. I bought it right after it was released, and I think in the beginning it was really interesting, but then I got confused and unhappy, and it took me a brutally long time to finish it, and I was hoping it would get better, and it never did. And maybe I'm just stupid, I'm just too stupid to understand this world, but yeah, honestly, it lost me and it never brought me back. And I'm disappointed with that. At number 18 is The Princess and the Fangirl by Ashley Poston. I gave this a 2.8 out of 5. This is the second book in the Once Upon a Con series. I read the first book, Gorilla, last year and thought it was cute and decent, so I picked up the second, and I just could not connect with the two main characters at all. I didn't care for the plot. Like, it didn't vibe with me, and that's why it's on this list. I think the cover is really cute, and I think the concept is adorable, but yeah, it and I were not on the same page. Number 17 is Better Than Perfect, which is the first book in the Wild Cards series, and it was originally titled Wild Cards, and it's by Simone Elkless. I gave this a 2.8 out of 5. So high school Vivian loved the Perfect Chemistry trilogy. It's probably still one of my favorites, and I saw Better Than Perfect on Book Outlet and decided to buy it since it was so cheap, and I finally got around to reading it this year, and I don't know, I think maybe if younger Vivian read it, she would have really enjoyed it, but older Vivian was just like, it was really meh. It wasn't anything special, and I thought it was a little bit less than okay, and that's why it's on this list. At number 16 is Dumpling by Julie Murphy. This is the first book in a duology. I don't plan on picking up the second book. So I read this book in anticipation for the Netflix movie. My cousin had already read this book before me and said that she thought it was okay. I kind of agree with her, but I thought it was slightly lower than okay. I think my biggest thing was that I went into this thinking like Willow Dean, this like I guess plus size girl, was gonna join a beauty pageant and shake things up, but that wasn't even like her original intention, and like at first she didn't even take the pageant seriously, and I didn't really like that, and she wasn't really a good friend. But I'm gonna be really honest, I like watched the movie soon after finishing the book, so I might be mixing the two up, even though they were quite similar, I think, from my memory. Thought the movie was average, the book was a little below average. It didn't do what I thought it was gonna set out to do. So at number 15 we have Comics Will Break Your Heart by Faith Erin Hicks. I gave this a 2.5 out of 5. So I love Faith Erin Hicks's artwork. I actually follow her on Instagram, and I was excited about her debut novel. My only problem is that besides that the title, the cover, and the concept being cute, the story overall lacked plot and just lacked drama. Like, there wasn't really much going on, in my opinion, and that's that. At number 14 is Unnatural Volume 3 Rebirth by, I think it might be pronounced as Mirka Andolfo. Hopefully. Anyways, I gave this a 2.5 out of 5. So this is the last book in a graphic novel trilogy, and I think the graphic novel, the series started off very promising, and this was just a very weak conclusion, and that's why it disappointed me. It started off with a lot of like important social commentary, and then afterwards it like backed away from it, and yeah, I just felt like the conclusion was just a little bit flat. I have a series wrap up for Unnatural, the entire graphic novel trilogy, if you are interested. At number 13 is Suicide Notes from Beautiful Girls by Lynn Weingarten. I gave this a 2.5 out of 5. I saw this book on Book Outlet, and I thought the cover and the title was very captivating, so I bought it hoping that I would like it, and obviously I didn't. Pretty much this is a dumb book about stupid girls making poor decisions and coming off as edgy. The twist was cheap and didn't do the book any favors. At number 12 is Spin the Dawn by Elizabeth Lim. I gave this a 2 out of 5. I honestly don't remember much of the book, which is a little sad. I was actually really excited for it. I think the cover is gorgeous. Like right from the start, it felt like a lot of other stories that I have read before, so I found it a little bit dull. And as I like continued on, if I wasn't pre-told that this was an Asian inspired fantasy, I would not have known that at all. And another thing, like a major thing about this, was I did not care for the romance. And like, I can't love a book if like there's a romance and I just don't care for it. At number 11 is Leah and the Offbeat by Becky Alberti. This is the second book in the Creekwood series. I gave this a 2.5 out of 5. So I loved Simon versus the Homo sapiens agenda. I liked the upside of Unrequited, and I disliked Leah as a character. And because I couldn't get on board with Leah, I couldn't get along with her book Leah and the Offbeat. Number 10, The Last of August by Brittany Cavallaro. This is the second book in the Charlotte Holmes series. I gave this a 2 out of 5. So I read the first book, A Study in Charlotte, and thought it was like a decent introduction to a series. And obviously I like the Sherlock series and Sherlock spin-offs, so I was excited for this, and I was excited to continue to see that the series grow and get better, and I don't think that it did, and now I don't know if I want to continue with the series. I'm still like mulling it over. Like the few main things I didn't like about this was I didn't like how like our main pair acted in this. I didn't like all the surprises that like happened at the end. I felt like they were very misplaced and was only there for shock factor, and I didn't like the death that happened at the end. I just was not happy with that. Number 9 is Again But Better by Christine Ricci. I gave this book a 2.5 out of 5. Okay, so I actually pre-ordered the signed Barnes & Noble edition for this book, and I still can't let it go. I really wanted to love this book, and I'm so sad that I didn't. And the main things are, I didn't really like the characters in this. I didn't like the parents. I didn't like the cheating, and I didn't like the magical aspect. And I also did not like the overload of pop culture references. So I just feel so sorry, because the author is one of the first 2 booktubers I ever subscribed to. At number 8 is The Sun Is Also a Star by Nicola Yoon. I gave this a 2.5 out of 5. So I didn't like everything. It was on my most disappointing list last year, and I'm so sorry, but Nicola Yoon is 2 for 2 right now. Whew. I do think The Sun Is Also a Star is better than everything. But I think I have to come in terms with the fact that Nicola Yoon's writing might not be for me. I've read her other stuff in like anthologies, and I've liked them, but like her books, At number 7 is Solitaire by Alice Osmond. So I read Radio Silence and Heartstopper, and I was so excited to pick up more from this author, and I'm just really sad that I did not like Solitaire. It felt like a book that tried really hard and failed really hard. Like that's how it came off to me, and I don't know, I also thought it was a little pretentious. Yeah, I gave it a 2.5 out of 5. At number 6 is New Superman Volume 1 Made in China. This was by Jean Luen Yang. I was pleasantly surprised by Jean Luen's Yang, American-born Chinese. I felt like that graphic novel just spoke to me. So I was really excited to see that he had a graphic novel about a Chinese Superman. So I picked it up. And honestly, I don't think it matched my excitement level and therefore disappointed me. At number 5 is When We Were Orphans by Kazuo Ishiguro. I gave this a 2.5 out of 5. Kazuo Ishiguro is one of my favorite authors. I love The Remains of the Day, A Pale View of Hills, and Never Let Me Go. So he was 3 for 3 until When We Were Orphans. And I don't know, maybe it was the audiobook, because I read those 3 other books previously, like physical copies, but When We Were Orphans bored me stiff. And the only reason why I pushed myself to finish was because it was Kazuo Ishiguro. That's it. There were some good parts, but mainly, like, I was just so bored. And I just feel so bad because Kazuo Ishiguro was like emerging to be like an all-time favorite. At number 4 is Never Have I Ever, My Life So Far Without a Date by Katie Heaney, hopefully. I gave this a 2 out of 5. This was my first disappointing book of the year. And I think that's how I'm always going to remember it. I saw it on Book Outlet. The title spoke to me, the cover art was cool, I liked it, and I'm so glad I didn't buy it because I ended up listening to the audiobook, and it wasn't what I wanted. It wasn't for me. I didn't find it funny, I didn't find it entertaining, and yeah, like pretty much it's always gonna be remembered as the first disappointing book of 2019 for me. At number 3 is Everyone's Getting Married, Volume 5 by Izumi Miyazono. I gave this a 1 out of 5. So this manga series started off very promising and I enjoyed it a lot. And then it went downhill and it never properly picked itself back up. Something happens in volume 5 that I really disagreed with. Once that happened, I think like this book never was able to bring itself back into like the positive light in my eyes, and I think it just ruined the series, and it wasn't like the ending was that much better. It was like a rush then, but we're only talking about volume 5 here. I do have a series wrap-up video for this if you are interested. Real talk. So the next or the last 2 books on this series, which have the number 1 and number 2 spots, are probably more worse reads than disappointing reads, but I don't do a worse reads list, so here they are. At number 2 is Mechanic by Alexa Riley. This is the second book in the Breeding series. So the first book, Coach, was actually like a really fun guilty pleasure read and I enjoyed it. And I was hoping that the second book would be the same, and it really wasn't. It was just bad, wrong, and disgusting, and I just couldn't. Like, good thing it was such a short book. And like honestly, sometimes it's just so hard to find short smut that works for you. At number 1 is November 9 by Colleen Hoover. I gave this book a 1 out of 5. This book showed up on my mid-year book freakout tag. It showed up on my mid-year disappointing list, and nothing has topped it since. I hated the relationship. I thought it was really problematic and really messed up. I didn't think it was romantic at all. Like, don't try to sell me this as romance. And so honestly, because it had a relationship I couldn't get on board with, I just hated it. And that's why it's at the number 1 spot. I feel like I talked about why I've disliked this book a few too many times. So I'm just gonna wrap up this list now because this video has been long enough. Alright, that is it for my most disappointing book slash read of 2019. We just like flew by 22 titles, which is crazy. I hope I didn't hurt anyone's feelings, and honestly, in the next year, 2020, I hope that I will have less books I will want to put on my disappointing slash worst reads list. Comment down below what is your most disappointing or worst book of this reading year. And now, outro time. Like, comment, subscribe. See you in my next video whenever that is. Bye!